Hello, and welcome once again to North Central Cinema. I'm your host, Joseph W. Smith III. Call me Joe, please. This is Jeremy Stout. He normally does some tech here at NorthCentralPa, but he also is a big film fan. We had him on the show once before, a couple months ago, and I asked if he would join us again so the two of us could discuss the current action comedy Bullet Train, which is in theaters. And we kind of agreed to not say anything to each other before the show about how we felt about it. So I'm going to let you get started. Give me a general reaction and tell me a little bit about why you felt that way, Jeremy.
So it's, for everything that I kind of liked about this movie, there was an equal thing that I was like not jiving with.
Interesting.
I felt very split on it, and I felt anytime I started to really get into the movie, it would find a way to pull me back out jarringly. And it usually did so with these flashbacks that I felt went on very long, didn't add a lot, and were really inelegant ways to get out character exposition. And it just kind of kept on, like, anytime I kept on, like, getting invested in it, it would go, and now we have to go show this unrelated thing that kills all momentum.
Yeah, I thought the wedding flashbacks were poorly thhandled.
Yeah, that was the really, those were the really, and they went on. Those were the ones that went on long.
Yeah. So rule one here, folks, is if you're going to do flashbacks, try and keep it not too long. Probably what I ought to tell you before we get too much further is give you a little bit of plot on the film. Yeah. It takes place on the titular train, a bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto, and Brad Pitt plays an operative for an unspecified organization. His job is just to grab a briefcase off the train. And on that rather simple framework, the screenwriter, he's working from a Japanese novel, hangs an incredibly complicated storyline involving, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 different characters with shady pasts and funny names, and they're all swirling around each other and intersecting. Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Did you feel that there was too much plot at times?
Yes, I did. I found it really overwhelming at some points, and I also felt like a lot of the characters were like just kind of in and out, and I didn't really get a good sense of like how they connected to the larger narrative, like specifically Zazie Bates's character and the wolf. Like, I get why they were there, but I didn't understand how they connected with anybody else. Really, it didn't do a very good job of I feel laying that out. Yeah. Specifically for those two characters.
Yeah, and they try. I mean, they put up these, what are essentially like title cards identifying characters who come on. It doesn't really help very much.
No, you just get a name. It's like the wolf, the hornet. Okay, I'm like, but why are they here? Like, why do they want this briefcase? Like, I get why like Brian Henry Tyree and Aaron Taylor Johnson, Lemon and Tangerine are their names. I get why they're there. I get why Ladybug, Brad Pitt's character, is there. I get why Joey King is there. I get why the one mobster's son is there. I just don't. But there were like some characters that would just show up, have a quick action scene, and then they're gone. And I felt like it never really amounted to much.
Yeah, it was, and I went with a friend who doesn't go to the movies nearly as often as I do, and he and I were kind of saying, I really feel lost, which is okay, but if you, I mean, there's a lot of movies that make you feel that way, but if you feel that way and it's distracting you, yeah, that's a problem. Now, they did tie it all together at the end pretty much. I thought the ending pretty much made sense, and it's sort of what I call a jigsaw puzzle movie where nothing fits until the very, very end. But still, it was a little bit over-plotted and a little tough to follow at times.
I mean, like, I think that, yeah, like, so that there are ways to feel out of sorts. Like, I think, for example, Brian De Palma's Blowout. That's a really good movie that makes you feel out of sorts and not like you know where you're going for large portions of the movie, but it never feels irritating or annoying. And this movie got kind of grating plot-wise, and I also think some of the humor bits, the humor just didn't work at all points. Like, some of it hit, and then like I really liked Brian Henry Tyree and Aaron Taylor Johnson, but I thought a lot of the other jokes fell flat.
Yeah, I also thought so, Jeremy. Apparently, the two of us are kind of in sync, because the nationwide critics were kind of split. I think it has a 53 at Rotten Tomatoes, which means some people liked it and some people didn't, and it got what Wikipedia calls mixed reviews. Some of the humor is funny. Some of the Brad Pitt stuff is funny. He's just come out of therapy, so he's trying to keep calm and everything. And he brings us sort of this 21st century karma to the film, and that pretty much works, especially the fact that he doesn't bring a gun with him, resulting in the coolest assortment of weapons. I mean, they use chopsticks and toilet paper and a fire extinguisher and snake venom and sushi trays. Everything you can possibly imagine is used as a weapon in this film, and it works pretty well. Others, like, I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought the whole Thomas the Tank Engine thing kind of fell flat, and I'm a Thomas the Tank Engine fan. My kids grew up watching that show.
Oh, see, I actually thought that bit was one of the funnier bits.
So that worked for you.
I think Henry Tyree, like, really, he sold it, and I thought he had a really charming disposition about him throughout the whole film. Really, him and Taylor Johnson are my two faves of the movie. I thought they were really good together, had a great natural chemistry.
Good performances.
The character that I found super grating was Joey King, who I usually like. I think she's a very talented young actress, but I could not stand her. I thought it was so irritating. Her like naive routine was just very, very off-putting to me.
So I don't think what it's based on is a graphic novel, but it has a cartoonish feel.
It does have a cartoonish feel, yeah.
And the other thing that bugged me a little bit, and I just want to get this out there, is I really don't like unnecessary violence, and I thought it was way too violent for a comedy. In fact, I was a little embarrassed that I brought my friend to it, thinking it was a comedy, never dreaming that it would be as easily as violent as a Tarantino film. And I thought that was kind of over the top and I don't know if they were trying to make you laugh by being so extreme, but for me, it didn't work.
Yeah, see, my problem with the violence isn't necessarily how violent it was, it's how bad I thought all of the CGI effects looked, and that just always is off-putting to me. I would much rather prefer a more grounded, practical-based film than something that uses overblown CGI that just looks messy.
Yeah.
And I felt that it really got bad in the last act, which I think is an absolute train wreck, visually speaking.
You had to use that idiom.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is kind of a sore spot for me because I'm a big train fan, and you can, almost anyone, you don't even have to be a train fan, almost anyone can tell if you're filming a train scene whether you're using a real train or a CGI train. And it takes guts and money and a lot of technical planning to use a real train. Obviously they didn't use that here, and it's almost like big boys playing with toys because the whole thing has a very cartoonish effect.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to see a train movie that uses a train and derails a real train, watch The Train by John Frankenheimer. A great movie about trains.
One of my 25 favorite movies, Jeremy.
Oh, such a good movie.
And actually destroyed some cameras while he was filming
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's not uncommon for Frankenheimer.
Yeah.
He destroyed quite a few.
Yep, I think that's the ultimate train movie. So what about, I understood there was some controversy that they cast so many Caucasians in the film. It was a Japanese novel, takes place in Japan, on a Japanese train. Did you have any reflection on that?
I actually was unfamiliar that it was a Japanese novel. I didn't go into that with that background. But yeah, I definitely think there could have been more Japanese. There's plentiful Japanese actors that you could have slotted into that into this film that I think would have been phenomenal. And especially when the big bad gets revealed, I felt his whole gimmick is that he is a white guy who came and took over the Yakuza, but it's one of my favorite actors. But I think he's giving one of his worst performances I've ever seen. Yeah,
he's been a little cartoonish lately himself.
I think sometimes he's cartoonish in a fun way. Like I think Premium Rush, if you want to see Michael Shannon, that's who. Spoilers, I guess, by the way. If you want to see Michael Shannon give a great cartoonish performance, I think Premium Rush. He's fantastic in that, and he is a full-on cartoon.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I also thought, I mean, at first it didn't bother me, and then when I looked at the whole cast, I was thinking, boy, most of the major characters here are either Caucasian or black, and that surprised me. That first of all, I'm not sure you could have gotten a $90 million film made without Brad Pitt in it or someone of his caliber, because that's going to drive the box office to some degree. So I can understand that, but I don't think they needed to have more than half the cast in some other race. I thought that was a little curious.
No, like, especially as Zazie Bates is just in this because she had a previous working relationship with the director David Leitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could have easily slotted somebody else in as the Hornet. Like, there's no reason why that couldn't have been a Japanese actress.
Yeah.
Like,
so we sort of liked it, sort of didn't. I like what Jeremy said, that for everything we liked about it, there was something counterbalancing that sort of pulled you back and made you scratch your head a little bit. It has its moments. It's got a good ending. It's got some very good performances in it. Sandra Bullock is mostly on as a voice, but actually appears later on. Mm-hmm. And I read just on Wikipedia about an hour ago that they asked Lady Gaga to do that role first.
Oh, okay. See, I figured this was like it would have had the same producers as the Lost City, because also Channing Tatum has a small cameo in it.
I think
and
that's
much like Brad Pitt had a small role in that.
It's supposed to be kind of an in-joke. Channing Tatum, he has an extended cameo here, and Ryan Reynolds has a very tiny one.
Yeah.
But they had actually asked Lady Gaga to be in it, and I think she had a scheduling conflict with House of Gucci and was not able to do it. So Sandra Bullock did a good job.
Yeah. Honestly, and I think Lady Gaga is more fitted for House of Gucci.
So
than
let's finish this up on a positive note, folks. If you like train movies, I think Jeremy and I can recommend The Train or also The General, because I know you're a Buster Keaton fan.
Oh, absolutely.
How about if they like action comedies? Do you have a favorite go-to for that?
I am a Hot Fuzz person. Okay. I think Hot Fuzz is one of the best action comedies to come out, certainly in this century, in the 21st century. I think it brilliantly weaves action and comedy, and it gets a lot of the pastiches of cop movies down really well.
Okay. And I would recommend then one from the previous century called Midnight Run, which made a fair amount of money.
Also a fantastic
Robert
movie.
De Niro and Charles Grodin. And that's a legit R-rated film, but they really pull it off. It's very, very funny, and also very exciting. Good, very well written too. So, a couple of other things to watch there. Bullet Train is okay, but maybe wait for it on streaming, and we'll see what else may be coming out later this year that you and I could talk about again together.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today, Jeremy.
Oh, no problem.
All right.
Always happy to do it.
And thank you for joining us as well.
At UPMC, we're pioneering new ways to treat cancer, and we're working to prevent it. We're advancing new technology to look more closely at disease and helping you breathe easier. We perform the world's first heart-liver transplant, and we're experts at keeping your heart beating strong. We're a global team of more than 90,000, advancing care everywhere and delivering it closer to you. UPMC, life-changing medicine.